Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the American Cinematheque's online Q&A for Paul Bartel's Shelf Life. My name is Grant Moninger. I show films at the American Cinematheque. Joining us today are the actors and writers of the film, O-Lan Jones, Andy Stein, Jim Turner, and a film programmer and filmmaker himself. We have Alex Mechanik joining us. He is the ambassador to Shelf Life. Welcome, everyone. How are you?
Good.
Hi.
Excellent. I want to say to the audience, if you have a question for this Q&A, there's a little Q&A box there at the bottom. You can start typing your Q&A question now, and we will get to it in probably about 20 minutes. First of all, I'd say there's no more quarantine film than Shelf Life. It is the film for the quarantine. Can we discuss a little bit about the beginnings of Shelf Life and its play origins?
Okay. Shelf Life started, as you know, a play done at a little theater in Hollywood, and the company was the Actors Conservatory Ensemble. We had this Lex Theater in Hollywood, and we decided to put on a show, and there were more people involved at the beginning, but then it turned out it ended up being O-Lan and Jim and myself, and we've all known each other for many, many years. And we just decided we'll just do this late night play. What are we going to do it about? And we were just throwing out all these various ideas. And somehow we came up with let's be in a bomb shelter. Was that the first thing? Or was it more like, what do people do when they are contained for long periods of time?
Yeah, and I think we discovered that the missing link was from Bug Juice, which we were doing with a lot of the Duck Spread theater guys, that then we had the idea, 3 girls, 3, which would be you and me and Jim, doing whatever we wanted. And then we wanted to ground it in a kind of realism, like gritty realism.
Right.
So we put it in a bomb shelter where nobody could tell us what to do.
Did the writing of this come out of you guys sitting down, or was it an improv and then you would write down, or how did the process work?
We mostly sat in my backyard over on Horner Street, out in the yard, and just, made up stuff. The same way any comedy group would just come up with material. Because it took a while to get to this. For a while, it was a thing called Bug Juice. And I don't know what Bug Juice was. But
that's the drink you drink when you're in summer camp.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like a Kool-Aid thing.
Okay.
So we drank the Kool-Aid.
We drank the Kool-Aid.
So yeah, it was mostly sitting down. We weren't we would jump up and act something out if we got excited, but it wasn't like we were physical actors, though the play and movie are very physical.
Very physical.
But we would do things like say, Jim, is it physically possible for you to drag each of us on your ankle? And yes, it was. So we would act out like that.
It looked like it was quite exhausting to perform every single night. How many days a week did you guys?
It was just on the weekends. It was just a late night show on the weekends, on Friday and Saturday night.
For 3 weeks?
Pardon me?
For
a
3
few
weeks? Oh.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how many weeks, but for a few weeks. And the lights were up, and when the audience would come in, we would just be there in our little, bomb shelter, just doing whatever we were doing. And then all of a sudden, I think Jim went to put some music on the record player, and then so that it began. And again, it was very physical. But in the writing of it, because we've all known each other for such a long time, we kind of got each other's sense of humor. We also had no filters, and we could say whatever we wanted to say to each other. And I always use this as an example, but we would throw out an idea and Jim would go, "Oh, that's really funny," and then he would write it down and take the piece of paper and crumple it up while he was saying, "That's so funny." And then he would bend over and shove it up his ass. We said, "That's a keeper. Let's put that in the play."
Well, he would clarify it by saying, "I'm going to file it."
I'm going to file it. And then, yes, sorry. Well, that's good. I'll file it then. So things came out of just being like goofy with each other and trusting each other.
Yeah, how did Paul Bartel get involved? He saw it those 3 weeks, or?
He came I'd known Paul for a few years, and he came to shows. He always came to shows I'd done, and I invited him to this, and he came, and he loved it. He just loved it. And I remember that he called us the next day and said, which was Father's Day, after we'd closed, after our very last performance, I remember he called me in the morning. These guys are now telling me, O-Lan and Andy, that he spoke to us that night about it, but I don't remember that. He called me the next day and said, hey, can you guys come over to my house? I want to talk to you. And we went over there, and there were a couple other people sitting there. He had this beautiful house, lots of Hockney paintings, lots of beautiful artwork. He was an art collector. And he said, I want to make a movie of this. And we were flabbergasted. That really wasn't why we were doing that, even though that's what people do in LA, is they do a show so that it becomes a movie or a TV show. I don't think we were thinking this would be a movie or a TV show. I could be wrong.
We were just having fun.
Yeah.
And Paul did instigate a lot of the actual writing, where we would sit down and write words, which was his suggestion that we make these scenes where there's 2 against 1, all the configurations of 2 against 1. And then I think where each person had a kind of solo too, because when we did it, when we were just playing around, it was just like, we, all of us all the time. And so he shaped it like that for the movie.
Yeah, he really gave it structure, and with like, a breakfast time, lunchtime, so he played a big part in just how it came together as a screenplay.
Was there anything else that he contributed to the script, or was it more just structure?
Well, it was what he wanted 3 scenes of each of us solo, each of us doing something by ourselves. And then he wanted 3 scenes of each, like me and O-Lan against Andy, me and Andy against O-Lan.
To conspire against
Andy and O-Lan against me. He wanted those 3, and then 3 solo scenes. And he just asked us to come up with something. And he really was like, you guys go for it. And then we shot it in order. The very first shot was the opening shot of the play. And we shot the whole thing in order. And the way we would shoot it was each day, whatever scenes we were doing, we would do the scene for the crew. And they would watch it and then think about blocking, think about lighting, think about, oh, what if we do that over here? And we would shoot that scene, and then we'd act out another scene.
What was great was the fact that we had just come off of, this happened so quickly after the play, that we had just come off of the play. So we really knew it. And the fact that it was shot, from beginning to end, made it all it seemed really natural and easy for us.
He also asked me to compose this strange little worship moment where we're talking about the mom and dad can and the provenance of the bones in the bag. And so even that looks like it's improvised. We worked so hard on getting all the rhythms and transitions right in that worshiping the can section. So that was Paul's idea too.
Yeah, everything was scripted. Ideas may have come out of like just throwing ideas out, but everything was scripted.
How did the songs come about? Were they all in the original play, or were they?
Yes.
The songs?
Yeah.
Well, sort of. The songs we just used records that were pre-1963. And we had a big stack of records. And during the play, like Andy said, when people came in, we were all on stage doing stuff. They didn't realize that it looked like people setting up the play. We were actually sort of doing the play. And I would play songs and I'd take the record off. No, not that. And put another one on. And then the lights went down and I put on Santo and Johnny's Sleepwalk. And the lights went down and it was sleep. And then boom, we wake up. and then it was just a day in the life. So all of the records, all the songs were records. And we made the mistake of using a couple of those in our movie. But mostly we got people to Andy Paley and Gary Stockdale and Joshua Brody to write songs that sounded like or gave the feeling of the songs that we had used.
And we had people who could sing, like Ema Sumac, Laurie Amat did all of that fabulous stuff for Egyptian fantasy. Who could forget? She and Joshua Brody.
And Brian Wilson.
Oh,
Brian Wilson.
With Andy Paley on the opening music.
The opening music as we're waking up was composed by Andy Paley mostly, but Brian Wilson too, but he sings on it. And Andy did all the production.
So when this was released to theaters, Paul, I know had a difficult time getting it into certain theaters and found theaters on his own to get the film. Is that correct? Can you talk about the journey of the film afterwards?
Wait, say that
cue
again?
the sad music.
Yeah, I mean, the path is that you go to film festivals, in the hopes of, getting distribution. So we did go to a bunch of film festivals, but Jim, you want to talk about the Slam Dance or Sundance or?
Will that make you guys mad or jealous?
Depends how long you go on for.
Okay. How much time we got?
No.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Jim's
kidding.
gonna do the really, really condensed version
Well,
of
we
this.
did. Well, I'm trying to. And anyway, it was rejected by Sundance, and Paul was insulted by that because he used to be on the board at Sundance, and Paul is. If there's any more Sundance kind of film, this is it. And so anyway, we took the movie to Sundance. He called up a movie theater and we got a midnight showing. We flew in to Salt Lake City, drove to Park City, and we showed it at midnight. We had a packed house. We got a review in Hollywood Reporter, a review in Variety. It went fantastically well. And we didn't sell the movie there because I don't think any of the buying people came, just the fans came. Because we were handing out things on the street saying, new Paul Bartel movie tonight, midnight. And yeah. So what?
Time.
I stopped talking. They left us. Look, they left us.
Wait, they quit us.
I know.
That's how long you went on.
Where's our moderator?
Okay, we can go wild. The moderator isn't here.
All right, then I'll tell the
Across
rest
to
of
the
the
two of
story.
you, you're right over here. I'm squeezing your heads.
Alex, you say something.
How did you get involved?
So, hi everyone, I'm Alex. I got involved, I came into the Shelf Life family a few years ago. I decided to program to just for my friends basically a screening of all of Paul's movies because I had seen Eating Raoul and I fell in love with it, and I was like, well, I want to watch them all, and so I'll force my friends to watch them. And so we went through one by one, and when we got to the last one, Shelf Life, I realized that there was no information out there at all, not like as if it almost hadn't existed. And I contacted O-Lan. Hey Grant.
We've liberated your show.
Thank you, Alan.
So yeah, I found O-Lan's email and I wrote her and I said, "What's the deal with this movie? Is this real?" And she wrote back and said, "Yeah, Jim and I are in LA and we'll come talk to you and your friends about the movie." And so we did like this little informal screening. There was maybe like 50 people there, and we got a bootleg online from this like weird German website who must have had a bootleg of something that Paul had made years ago. So it looked terrible. It was very dark. But we played it to all these people who, some of them had seen the other Paul Bartel movies, but a lot of them hadn't. And I remember O-Lan and Jim were kind of a little bit nervous about what the reception would be. But we played it and everyone just went nuts for it. Everyone just was so excited. It was like, just really just an amazing response. enough.
It was
that
like the best response ever. Just like every square inch of it, they ate it up and they got everything. Every little twitch of the eyebrow, they were like with us. It was fabulous.
it was really.
We didn't know. I mean, I hadn't seen the movie in 15 years. I don't think
Right.
O-Lan had seen it in 15 years. We really didn't know. It might have sucked, you know, and where I was going, I remember this being, I really like this movie, but Jesus, is time going to be cruel to us? And at the end, we just said, holy shit, that was
No.
great. That was
Time has
great.
been, yeah, very good for us because the pandemic now has turned Shelf Life into a documentary.
Yep.
So
It really got the ball rolling, and then we were like, well, then we should try and get this out there. You know, it seemed crazy to me that this was a lost movie. You know, it just seemed like there was an audience out there for it. I mean, not just Paul's fans, but I just feel like there's a whole new generation of people that would love this and have been loving it. So we after that we found the last remaining 35 millimeter print. It was Paul's personal print that his family had dropped off at the Academy. And we managed to get it out of the Academy, which was a whole process, and they don't normally do that, especially to people that don't own the film. And we got permission to then take it out and do some screenings to get the movie out there. So last year we did a little bit of a tour and took it around and got a great response. And yeah, now we're in the process of hopefully getting it released.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some questions from the audience that I'm going to put in there. Someone is wondering, was it difficult to find the ending to the play or the film as well?
Go ahead.
The play just ends. They go to the food border, closet, and there's no food. And then they do all the production numbers, and then they lay down, and then the last song was some sad, it might have been Sleepwalk again, I don't remember. And that's it, they're gonna die. And Paul said, yeah, no, that's not gonna be the end. And he came up, it's not really, we can't really ruin the ending because it's not that kind of movie. But then he came up with the idea that they drill, it's a construction worker played by Paul Bartel. That is the funniest thing. There's nothing funnier than Paul Bartel in a
rough
heart.
and tumble.
And they drill through and he goes, oh, hold off, boys. That was his idea.
I'm always happy to see Paul in a film, whether it be chopping more. Anytime that he just appears in a movie for a second, it's like the greatest thing.
Yeah.
Running, and he's running and eating Raoul. Him running down the street is hysterical. Just anything physical that he does is like, oh, that's wrong. That's so wrong. I don't know why.
Well, he was also the pharaoh in the TV where he's like, when that inspires Egyptian fantasy. So he was either voiceover or you could see him in a lot of the TV stuff in Shelf Life.
A lot of us have our idea of Paul from watching him in films and stuff, but what was it like to work with Paul Bartel? What was he like as a director?
Wonderful.
Well, he was a brilliant collaborator because he so understood what we had already created and knew how to make it bloom even more. He just knew exactly what it required. So that was amazing.
And he was very inclusive. I don't think he ever forgot that, this was something that we had created and that he ended up loving. And so he just made us feel like we were all really involved, not just as hired actors to come in, and do something. He couldn't have been more wonderful.
Well, it's because he was such a huge, he really did love the play. He just loved it. And I don't think he wanted to fuck with it at all. He wanted that thing that he saw to come alive on the screen. And he thought, how do I make that happen? I think we need these little solo scenes. I think we need this. And we're not going to kill him in the end. That's what. And so it was just a collaboration of a thing that we had created.
It was wonderful in every way.
Someone's asking what you guys think the St. Cloud siblings, how they would fare once if they were free from the bunker, either in 1993 or now.
I think I would be a spiritual leader.
Of one.
Yes, I think it would be good. I think that if we were released and it was now, the current situation today, I think that we would be very much in demand, of course, in outdoor spaces, very much in demand to give how to survive the pandemic, different ideas of like how to dress up and play games. And
I remain completely sane.
Yes, we would be sought. We would be sought after as world speakers.
Let's see what we got here. Someone wants to know how Andy Paley got involved. How did that happen?
I've known Andy for, oh Jesus, forever. I've known Andy for a long time. A friend of mine, Ned Claflin, Andy used to sleep on his floor up in San Francisco. And they were really good friends from Boston. And I used to sleep on Ned's floor too. And one time we were all just hanging out there. And then Andy and I became friends. And when I moved here, he was one of the first people that, you know, I hung out with. And he's a genius at coming up with stuff that you just tell him what you want and he comes up with it. And I've done a bunch of plays, Girly Magazine Party, Clowntown, City Limits. I have a thing called Two-Headed Dog. Andy does all the music and he composes music for all of it. And it's just perfect.
But he's a producer in his own right and song, yeah. That he.
Oh God, I mean, he's produced everybody, Randy Newman, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, NRBQ. He wrote songs he did the songs for Dick Tracy with, you know, Madonna and Warren Beatty. He didn't do the soundtrack. That was Danny Elfman, I believe, who got the big money because they told Andy they didn't have any money to create songs, to write songs for Madonna, Take
For a
Six,
Warren Beatty
Katie
movie?
Lang. Warren Beatty told him he didn't have any money. So Andy always works cheap.
For free.
For free for us.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So this is someone's asking, did you project it on 35 when you did the tour? And is this what we're seeing on the Vimeo? Is that a scan of the 35?
Yeah, what you're seeing is a scan of Paul's personal 35mm print from the Academy that we had done at Photochem. But we have the print, and then we also have the original negatives, which we would make the restoration from, but that's kind of a larger, much more expensive process. So this was just so that we could get it out there so that people could start seeing it. And so that's why you see when you're watching it, it's got the scratches and the dirt, which honestly we all kind of like a little bit because it kind of adds a little character. It feels like it was, you know, in the bomb shelter with them. So, but it's, yeah, I mean, it's a nice print for being kind of scratched up. But yeah, hopefully the idea is to get it a full restoration and do it properly.
If you know anybody with the big bucks.
Anybody out there?
Out there.
The original play was directed by Mary Edith Bureau, from the original cast member of Fridays, and was that all very harmonious?
Mary Edith Burrell. She did one of the things that she did that was so brilliant. She asked us, because we had not thought this through. She asked us the birth order, and just doing that gave so much depth to each character, like, you know, Andy being like the boss a bit.
Once we decided I was the oldest, it gave me full authority.
Yeah.
To torment them as I wanted to.
And then Jim was the baby, and then I was like the invisible person in between that was sneaky. All of a sudden, this whole sneaky thing came up that in real life I've never experienced. But as an actress, I found it. So that was a big thing that Mary Edith Burrell brought to it. Right.
They were very actressy too, I have to say. When we were doing the play, I said the word Macbeth in the lobby of the theater. They fucking made me spin around in circles, say a bunch of gobbledygook. I said, "You're kidding me. You're kidding me."
Sacrifice a small animal.
I said Macbeth. They fucking flipped out. They really wouldn't go on until I did this. And I did it because I'm a good person inside.
You had to learn your lesson, Jim.
Because you're the baby.
I learned my lesson.
And we could boss you because you're the baby.
Oh,
Well, you're
my
here
God.
to talk about it, so it worked out.
Yeah.
It was an incredible moment. I think I came home and said to my wife, she said, "How'd it go tonight?" I went, "Those fucking people are nuts. They're fucking out of their mind." I had to spin around in a circle.
Oh, you loved it.
There's so many amazing little moments in this film. Someone was asking, do you guys have a specific moment or part of the film that you love most or was most fun to perform?
We can't say that. We
I
can't
mean,
say that.
I
That would
love the whole
destroy
thing.
everything.
Yeah, I loved everything. You know, at the time when we did it, Jim drove this, a Studebaker, this convertible Studebaker, whatever year it
1960
was.
Studebaker Lark convertible.
It was a very cool
Green.
car. I would drive over to O-Lan's house. We'd sit on her front steps and wait for Jim to pick us up at the convertible and drive to the sound stage, you know, where
That
our
was the best
movie.
part.
Pardon me?
That was the best part. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that was all a part of it, of just the glee of, you know, just being able to go off and do this and work on our movie. So every
Right.
part of it was just a gift. And I mean, I probably like all of my scenes the best.
Well, we all do, Andy.
Yes.
That'll be my answer too. My answer will be all of Andy's scenes.
The car is a star of the movie. It's in the driveway as
Yeah.
you're coming in the very opening. When you come into the house, my Studebaker is sitting there in the driveway.
And that was Paul's secret door, right? Like down to the
No,
basement.
well, that was a different house. Where
Oh,
we
okay.
shot that scene wasn't his house. The exterior of the house was over in like Mara Vista.
But the bookcase, was that
The
not?
hidden
bookcase is in
bookcase
Paul's
with
house.
hidden stairs was Paul's house.
Yeah.
We have a request for a certain moment. They would like an encore live reading of the line. They could hear the line. We did it for Tina, mustn't spit. If we could get it.
O-Lan.
Well, you know what? I actually brought an emergency crown. This is the actual crown. And let me just find my way back in there. This is my master class. You did it for Tina Mustn't Spit. That wasn't it. But that I'll do just for now, for the moment of now. We did it for Tina Mustn't Spit.
That was pretty good.
You know what? I think I would go with the first take.
Okay, fine,
I
whatever.
thought you were an actress. I don't know what
Yeah.
that was.
We did it. We did it for Tina. What? No, we did it for Tina Mustn't.
That's the waiting room of every audition.
So now you said about favorite parts.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but my favorite part is when Tina and Scotty are doing the bad boy, bad girl, and we're smoking cigarettes, which are, you know, piece of paper, and then Pam says something, and I say, "Yeah, we hear you."
And then you flick the cigarette at me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the ice skating. The ice skating was one of my favorite
Oh, ice
parts.
skating is really good. The old grapes make the best wine is my favorite line.
What I had to
It doesn't
endure.
make any sense, I don't think. Maybe it does.
It's genius. It's genius.
A friend of the Cinematheque, Steve DeJarnett, who I know did Miracle Mile with you. I saw he was thanked in that. I was wondering why Steve was thanked.
Because he happened to have a big tin of, well, I forget what they're called, but they're like bomb shelter biscuits that you take down into the bomb shelter. And when I told him we were doing this play and doing this movie, he gave them to us to use as part of the props.
Very cool. See, we have a couple time for a couple more. We got raised here. They want to know, that was Paul's personal copy of Shelf Life. That's the only print that exists anymore. That's it.
That we know.
Yeah.
There must be another, because two prints were made. Well, we can't find the other.
We left it in Houston.
Yeah, we actually did leave the movie in Houston.
Hello, Houston. Hello, Houston. Please.
We're in Texas. We did 2 film festivals in Texas, which I went to with Paul. And I remember on the way, we finished, and we were in the car on the way to the airport. We all looked at each other saying, who's got the canister? Who's got the film? Yeah.
You only need one.
That will only end in tears.
Someone wants to know, is there any chance Clowntown City Limits or Girly Magazine Party makes it to film?
Wow.
Well, there is a Girly Magazine Party film. It's never, just like Shelf Life, it's never been released. I came to town and I was, they started calling me the Cooler, and I didn't really know what that meant. Yeah, there was a movie, that was a play that I did based on Playboy After Dark, and a movie was made of it, a $3 million movie supposedly, and it was never released, and it's very sad. I can show it to people, but I have to do it secretly.
But it wasn't a true representation. It was not a true representation of Girly Magazine.
No, well, yeah, there were some things that were fucked up about it. But, you know, when I watch it now, I'm not embarrassed by it. It's okay.
Way to sell it. Way to sell it.
I'm embarrassed by it.
It's okay is okay. And
That's a running
Clowntown City Limits, we would love to do a movie of that, but it'd take a special genius to figure out how to make Clowntown City Limits into a movie, but it should be. And the music is by Andy Paley.
Go. We have time for maybe a couple more here. I'm going to go through. This is interesting. What parts of your bunker selves have shown up during quarantine?
That's a good
But maybe they never left.
Yeah, what part of my bunker? Well, this is not necessarily true, but the desire to never shower or change my clothes again. But I do.
I think our bunker selves never really left us. Once you've opened to your bunker self, it's part of you.
It is.
Yeah.
I've got my canned pears.
How many of those you got?
These out at the live shows, but now that we're on Zoom, sorry,
All right, guys, I think we've reached the end. We end with the canned pears there. Everybody can go and watch this on Vimeo. You can go to the AmericanCinematheque.com and watch Shelf Life. It's going to be running till Wednesday, so please join us and let's find distribution for Shelf Life. Is there anything, last thing anybody want to say?
I just want to say one thing. Do you know I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you were with him then, the memorial for Paul Bartel was at the American Cinematheque.
Yeah.
So, and if you watch the film on Vimeo through our site, at the beginning, it's Gary Essert and Gary Abrams. It was dedicated to, Paul dedicated the film. They one of the founders of the Cinematheque ran Filmmakers, the people listening, and they passed away the year before. So perfectly ties into the American Cinematheque.
Yeah,
I was at the office today. I popped in to get looks, and I found a photo of Paul at one of the many times he appeared there. Just fell out of an envelope today. Very strange, but it was there. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, watch Shelf Life on the website.
Thank everybody for watching. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.